Now we're going to talk about sorting. So sorting arrays is actually a pretty complex subject, primarily because JavaScript is a little weird about sorting numbers and text. It doesn't sometimes know what should be first, basically. For something that's just numbers, this is usually pretty easy. So you can say, let's make a new array numbers, and let's put 5, 4, or 5, 3, 8, and 1. Right, so you can do numbers.sort, and now it puts this in the order that you would expect. But if you have an array where it's something like this, numbers equals 100, 1, 6, 25, 10, something like that. If you do numbers.sort here, it's not exactly what you would expect, right? Because 100 isn't after 10, but it basically looks at numbers in kind of an alphanumeric way. So this is somewhat problematic. And the way you get around this is you basically write a custom function that you pass to sort. So I'm going to show you how to do this. You don't really need to worry about it too much because it's a little bit complex, because this is an anonymous function that doesn't have a name. It just takes two variables, and it actually returns a comparison result between these variables to the sort method. So all this is happening at once. So don't worry about too much how this works. Just know that if you're running into this kind of problem where the results aren't in the actual order, that follows numerical logic, I guess, you would need to do it like this. So just keep that in mind. The next thing I'm going to show you is how to filter arrays. So let's say you have an array of mixed data, and that's going to contain a bunch of numbers, and then there's going to be some text, and then maybe there's some more numbers, and then maybe more text. Whoops, like a word. Now, what if you wanted to only get numbers out of this array? Obviously, you could write a for loop and use that whole type of thing that I was showing you earlier, and then kind of save the results and so on. But an easy way to do this is to just write a function, right, that checks if something is numeric, right? So it takes a value, and then it says, if type of A is number. And then what we do, if it is a number, then we return it back. And if not, we just ignore it, right? So let's just check this real quick. So z equals 5 is number z, right? 5 is returned. Is number something that's not a number, right? We don't get anything back. So we have a function that identifies a kind of condition we want to filter this array, and then what we do is we just pass that function to the filter function. So we do mixed data filter is number, right? And now what it's doing is it's basically going through this list of items, and every time it gets to an item, it checks, okay, is this a number? If it's a number, then we return it back. If not, we don't return it. So that means these things are effectively cut out of the array. So that's a simple way to kind of sort an array in a kind of very efficient way. This is actually more efficient than writing your own for loop, because this happens within the JavaScript object, so it's faster, basically. Okay, so the last thing I want to cover is just how to search for stuff inside of an array. So let's reset our mixed data to this. So let's say I wanted to find the word glass inside of this array. I wanted to know at what position is glass located. So obviously I could write another loop and say, if the element is glass, then return the position of it. But an easier way to do this is to just use the index of function. So this is spelled like this. There's a kind of uppercase here, and you can just give it anything you want to search for. So if I want to search for the word glass, it tells me 9. So this is at position 9. I could also search for the number 1, which is going to be at position 0. I can also search for the number 5, and this is going to tell me 2, even though there's another 5 here. So if you wanted to get the last index of something, there's a function for that called last index of. So if you have, multiple elements in the array that are the same and you want to get the last one, you can use this function. So I hope that helps with some array processing if you're using arrays in your code.